Hey folks, so many of you have asked if it's possible to create a chat with PDF application using complete no-code framework. So here we go. I'm announcing a bubble-based template called LangSaaS, where you can take the template and deploy it as a SaaS application in under an hour. It comes with pre-configured route to talk to Flowise, which is a no-code LangChain tool. It also comes with routes to communicate with Stripe for payments. Also, it has routes configured to summarize a document. So in essence, once you deploy this template, users can chat with PDF, chat with knowledge bases, which has multiple documents in them. And also they can summarize documents using Cohere's API. It also has integration with Zep Memory Store to keep track of the conversation and memory of the chat. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the steps of setting up the template, setting up Flowise, and setting up the Stripe products so that you can combine all of that, bring them together in this template, and deploy your SaaS application. So let's get started. So first thing I would like to show is the functionality of this template. So this is the landing page. You can come in, make changes, you can add elements. So if you've used Bubble before or have built applications on Bubble, then you know this is quite easy. You can pretty much modify any aspect of this landing page. Now, second is in the pricing section. There are multiple plans available, so users can subscribe based on monthly or yearly plans. And all of these buttons are configured so that they take you to the respective plans. Now, if the user is not signed up or is not signed in, then this dialog box shows up where they can sign in, sign up. And if they are, then they can directly go to the plan. Now, next is the app section, of course. This is where all the magic happens. And first thing is, again, as mentioned, user needs to sign in or sign up. And once they do that, then they will be taken to this default page, which is chatbots. So the template is divided into three sections. One is chatbot, which is chatting with a single document. And the way users can create a new chatbot is by uploading any particular document they have. There are multiple formats available right now, as is in this template. So users can add name, description, any initial question they might have about the document, and then upload that document. And once they do that, then they'll see that the chatbot is going to be available in this section. And if the chatbot was created using a PDF, you'll see that there will be a preview for the PDF. Also, same thing for the websites. So if a web page was used to ask questions about, then you'll see a preview. This is totally up to you as a developer if you like to use the preview option or not. Regardless, the chat option to chat with the document that is used to train data is going to be available. Now, it also comes with the option to delete this document. This will delete the document from your app as well as from the embeddings, and we'll talk about that in a minute. There's also the option to create a knowledge base, which has multiple documents together. So in this case, I have uploaded documents, I have uploaded some web pages, and there's also an option to add more of these. So you can upload files and websites together. All of the document formats, those were mentioned before, are also available here to be upserted, uploaded, and also together with the websites. And another thing that is available in this template is a summarizer. This is again something, if you'd like to keep this section, you could, or you could remove that. Essentially, it takes a document and it asks a user to generate summary of that document. You can imagine a document, maybe, a few hundred pages. you can generate a summary of that. It could be in a paragraph or bullet format. And once that is generated, then it will be available for users to read through the summary. And this is using Cohere's Summarizer endpoint. Now, a few additional things is that users can have their profile settings available here. So they can go into their account, make a few changes. They can also go to payments and look at their current subscription in Stripe. And then they could also manage their subscription to either upgrade or downgrade or cancel as needed. Now, once you have this template, there are two major areas in terms of setting the template up. The first one is what happens when a user uploads a document, the workflow to go from uploading the document to chatting with the document. And the major portion of this workflow involves Flowise, which is a no-code LangChain tool. And I have made a few different videos on how to use Flowise. There are many different ways you can install Flowise, and something that I've shown previously is using Render and Railway. So feel free to go to the doc section of Flowise and follow along the tutorial mentioned to get the render base deployment up. That's what I have used in this case. Just make sure that you use an instance that does not delete your flow. There is some documentation at the bottom which talks about persistent dis, and this is something that you definitely need to make sure that your flows are not deleted. So once you install Flowise, you will end up at a screen like this where you will have blank, nothing over here in case you have never made a flow. You can add new flow, or you can go to the marketplace to bring over some of the available chat flows from here. Now, something that I have used for the template is the upserting of document. This is where user can upload a document. It goes through a few steps where it first takes the document, be it PDF or text file. It chunks it into smaller size. And then once the chunks are available as text, it converts that into numbers or vectors and saves it into a vector database. And then we can chat with that document. So it's as simple as that. And this is the template we are going to use as well. There is another template available, which is for the loading of document. So once the document is already uploaded and upserted into the vector database, now you can provide the same information of where it is and then start chatting with the document. And my recommendation is to watch one of the other videos where we go in depth of what is happening with upserting and loading of document. In this video, we'll keep that minimal. Now, what I've done is using the template mentioned before. This is pretty much same. The only thing I changed is I used Cohere's embedding model because I wanted to use a multilingual embedding option. And with this, it allows for users to upload documents in over 100 languages. So that is quite beneficial. And then, of course, everything else is similar. I use Pinecone Vector Database. One could use any other provider. And you can go through the list available here for the document loaders to change that instead of PDF to any other document loader, whichever option you'd like for your users to have. For the vector stores, there is that option as well. You can explore through any of the provider. All of those work pretty similar. Now what I've done is for PDF, I kept the PDF blog. For web-based upload, I used a web scraper, and for that, a different type of splitter. And again, another one for text and JSON, and also for docx. So the key information that we'll need from here into the LangSaaS template is that we will go to any of these links for curl, JavaScript, Python, you'll see that there is this link available where we can send data to Flowise from Bubble. And this is exactly what we'll copy. And within the API connector, we'll go to the route or document that you would like to modify. So in case if I'm using the web document, I'm just going to copy that route over here. Now you'll notice that if it is the web API, then there are a few parameters here. The body type is JSON and there is some JSON available. And if it is a document, then the body type is form data. And there are a few fields that are configured here. If you plan to use only these APIs, then you just need to modify the link and that should be it. Just make sure all of these correspond to the right Flowise chat flow so that the parameters that we're going to be using match with the API parameters that we're going to be calling. So that pretty much takes care of the upsertion of document. Now, feel free to watch some other videos that I've made about how you can set up Pinecone or Cohere embeddings and different providers for your large language model. Now, the second flow that is of importance is the loading of document. Now, as I have shown previously that you can take the marketplace template and pretty much in here I changed to Cohere embedding since I want to use the multilingual model, and then everything else is similar. The only change is that I added a Zep memory store. The reason for that is there is a built-in memory in this node, but I would like for it to be in external format so that I have memory saved for each user separately. And Zep is something quite easy to install and run. The way you can do that, if you were to search for Zep Memory Store, there is quite some documentation available. The setup is quite fast. So I would highly recommend for you to use one of these providers, which is easy to install and deploy and use. And in this, I am using render option again because I already have a render account. You can click on this link and it will take you to the setup. You basically need to give a name and then create resources. It automatically does the creation of resources for you since that is configured in that button. And then you'll notice that you will have a few of these Zep services in your account. The key information you're going to need is this web service that is available from Zep. You will need to copy this URL. Now, there is a way that you can add authentication to this server so that it's not open to the public. Please follow along the steps mentioned here to get that authentication set up. Now, once you have that URL, you can copy that over to our loading template and basically provide it over here as the URL. And other than that, we are pretty much set. We will take this URL available from this load template, and then we'll bring that over to our load document section and the URL in here. And that takes care of connecting with Flowise with all of these document formats. Now, as you can imagine, if you were to add another type of document, you will add that particular upsert flow in Flowise, and also you will add the link associated with that particular API call. Once you have done that, you'll notice that in the workflow, there are a few different items. Those are something that might need your attention. So the one in green are something that you can go and have a look at it and see if those are the options that you would like to provide to your user. Now, there are some which are in cyan color. These are the one you might want to change. In my case, I have these document formats available and the web page based upsertion available. you might want to add more if you'd like to provide that option. So you just copy, paste any of these. The way these are working is that it triggers a custom flow. And this custom flow at the bottom, you'll see that it calls the Flowise API, creates a new message. So if you have something else, if it is, let's say, for example, other than CSV format, then you will call that particular API. Now, in this case, all of these common formats are available and already set, so you don't necessarily have to change anything here. Now, similarly, the knowledge base option is also set up, which calls Backend API. And if you are a Bubble developer, then you know there's an option to configure Backend APIs. And in here, there are a few different options. First thing, for creating knowledge base, it goes through the list of files and it detects the right format of the file. And then whichever format it is, then it calls the corresponding upsert API. And all of these are available and configured for you, so you don't necessarily have to change anything. Now, some users might want to change the metadata, then they can come in and change that. But if you'd like for it to leave it as is, then all of those are configured for you. Now, again, it's also up to you if you'd like to keep the summary section or not. If you do want to keep the summary section, then you'll notice that there are two API calls. Those are made. One API call is to unstructured IO, which is a provider to extract text. So if you were to search for unstructured IO, then you'll notice that they have this API section, and you can pretty much apply for the API key. Once you have the API key, you can add that to the unstructured API section and modify your key. Other than that, everything else should be pre-configured. And then the second step that happens in generating summary is once the text is available to us, then that is sent over to Cohere to summarize. Now, same thing for Cohere. You'll notice that there is an endpoint set up for Cohere that you will have to modify and use your own API key in that case. Now, with that, all of your configuration of Flowise is taken care. In addition, we talked about the summarization, which is also taken care. If you would like to use the formats, those are available here. Now, it's all pre-configured for you. You don't have to necessarily modify, but if you'd like to add additional document formats, then you'll have to create a custom workflow here and then just add it to one of these routes. So if you're creating chatbot, then you just add that trigger here. You can just copy any of these and then paste and modify the elements as needed. Now, the second big portion after you set Flowise is the Stripe. Now, if you are new to Stripe, then you probably have to create your store. And once you do that, they'll ask for some tax documentation. And once all of that is taken care, now you'll have an active store that you can create products. Now, once you create a Stripe account, then first thing you'll do is you'll take the API keys. This is something that you'll get from test mode and the live mode. And then you take the publishable key, secret key, and then bring that over to the Bubble application, where if you were to go to the plugins and in the Stripe section, you will add those values here as live, secret, live, publishable, and then same thing with the development versions. And in here, what I've done is I created a few different products, and the way you can do that is you click on add product. You can name the product, give some description if you like. And now there are different models available. I've used standard pricing and gave it some sort of price and recurring monthly basis. I added another price here, which is on a yearly basis, and gave it another price for that. And with that, I have created these 3 plans. Now, it's totally up to you how many plans you'd like to add. Just to give you an idea, in the entry plan, I said there is going to be something $10 per month, and there is something which is $100 per year. So there's a monthly plan and a yearly plan. Now, the key thing here is this API ID, and this is what we will take over to our application. Now, in our application, in the data and app data, there is an option called plans. And in here, you will have to manually add these plans. So you will make a new entry. And in here, you will add the live API ID and test API ID. Those are available for these plans. So in here, if the test mode is off, these are the live price ID. And then if the test mode is on, then you will have your test IDs that you can take those over. So that's exactly what I've provided here. You can keep the same plan names if you like, or you can change this. The way you can change that is within the option sets. There is something called plan names, and I have given here some of these plan names. You can add more plans or modify any of these, and then you can select that particular option in here. So with that, now you will have a bunch of plans here with their test API ID and their live API ID. This is something that we'll be utilizing in the next few steps. So the main place where all of these are going to be utilized is in the pricing section. In here, there are a few elements those will be using that pricing ID. First thing is based on what you have set up, the names, you can modify these names of the plans and also the pricing. So if you were to look at the hidables, then you'll see that there is the option to subscribe to each of these plans. So this is something that you will have to modify as the workflow where all of these take them. So if it is the initial entry, your basic plan, and if it is the monthly option, then you might want to go in and modify the workflow. And once you do that, then you'll see that there is a workflow associated. All of these are also marked to make it easy as what you need to change. Now in here, once the subscribe option is clicked, then there are a few workflow items. Those are happening. One is that you need to modify this plan to point to something that you have as your entry plan or any plan name that you have given. So you notice that there is for monthly and for yearly, so you'll have to select the right plan for that particular button. Now, second is for the user points. There are monthly points available. These are chat points or chat credits. So there are 50 in this case that I'm given to any entry-level user. And then the use points are 0, so they will keep adding as they chat with any of the documents. And in my case, I have given the chatbot credits as 5 for the entry user, and knowledge base credits are 2. You can modify this as needed or as you decide for your app. Now, once you have given these credits to the users, the next step is that in the trigger complete section, it is triggering a custom workflow, which is at the bottom here. And the key information we're providing here is the amount that is going to be added to the billing history. Now, this is something that is available in the template that it keeps the billing history. You don't necessarily have to keep that since Stripe also has the customer portal, which could be utilized for billing history by the users. But if you do decide to use the billing history available in this template, then you will have to modify this for each of your plans. And once you have modified this amount, that's pretty much it. Now, I've also given free credits to people who sign up. So that is with the sign up button. If they were to click sign up, then we give them free knowledge base and chatbots and monthly points to chat. This is totally up to you if you'd like to give your users free credits or not, or how many you would like to give. Now, the same thing is also in the app section, where if the user were to sign up, then you'll see exactly same thing. There are 2 different places users can sign up from. You just need to make sure both of the points are matching. Now with that, going back to the pricing section again, you might want to make sure that in design, you are changing all of these elements so that they reflect the pricing plan that you'd like to add. There is the monthly pricing, and then you'll notice that if you were to click on the pricing, there's a condition which checks if the yearly is selected, then you can give the yearly pricing over there. And this is also the case for all of these monthly plans here. Now, there's another section where users are updated on a monthly basis with the points. Those are associated with their particular plan. That happens in the backend workflows. If you look at the workflow points handler, then in here, we are saying that if a plan is entry plan per month, then those are the points that we assigned previously, and it recurs on a monthly basis. So you just need to modify the plan names according to the points that you have associated. Now I have 3 plans, and all of those have monthly and yearly options. So 6 of these that I made changes to at the bottom. And now with this on a monthly basis, their account is updated. Now this is for first-time users and their recurring use. Now, what if the user would like to change or cancel their plan? There are a few workflow items. Those are set up in the backend workflow, so you don't necessarily need to modify any of this. The only thing that needs to happen for this particular case is when user go in their payment section and click manage subscription, it takes them to the Stripe's customer portal. This is something that you can set up in Stripe. Once user provide their email, then they will see a portal like this where they can update their plan, cancel their plan. They'll see invoice history over here as well. They can change some of the billing info. All of this is from Stripe, so we don't necessarily have to change anything. The only thing is we need to configure this in Stripe. And the way one could do that is if you were to search for customer portal in Stripe, then there is the option of creating one for your products. You'll see first time there will be an option to generate a link here. Once you generate, then it will give you this link. You probably might want to go through one of the tutorials to see how the payment, different type of payments, those could be set up, different subscription that you can select. I have selected all of the options that I had monthly and yearly for all of those plans. And then you can also edit some of the information here. So let's say, for example, if you have someone in the portal, they're modifying their plan, and then they would like to go back, the redirection link is something that you'll have to set. So for my particular case, this is the test link that I use. Then for the live case, same thing, I will generate a link, and also I will have a redirection back. So in this case, I just set Menlo Park Lab. But again, for both of your app, the deployed app and for the test, you might want to configure this redirection link. And then also we need this portal link that we will use in Stripe. So once you copy these links, you will go back to the app, and in here, there is a button that is configured that was shown, manage subscription, that we need to change. So if you were to look for manage subscription, this basically opens a URL in a new tab. And if the version, it says that it isn't live. If that's the case, this is the test version, so we add the test destination. If the version is live, then you'll provide the live link that was taken from Stripe. And with that, the managing portal is also taken care, and everything else is pretty much pre-configured if the users were to update or cancel their plan in the Stripe portal. That also is reflected in our application database. Now, there's one additional thing that you'll have to do in Stripe is that you will have to set your webhook URLs. And these are the URLs that Stripe uses to call your application once the changes happen. So the two that are needed are the first two. These are the one for the chat with doc application. One is the subscription cancel. Now, the way you know that this is the URL is by going to your workflows, backend workflows, and you'll see that the subscription canceled and Stripe account updated. These are the workflows that we need to call. So let's say, for example, for subscription cancel, this is the link I have for my application in the test mode. And I am going to be basically adding that link here. Same thing with the other webhook, which is the Stripe account updated. That's exactly the name I have here in the backend workflows. And for the backend workflows to be enabled, you might probably know that you have to enable that in settings. And in that, you can go to API, and then you need to enable backend workflows. And for this, you need a paid account, I believe, that will enable this URL. So as you notice, this is the first portion, and after this WF is where we have that particular workflow added. Now, if you were to go back and look at these are the test webhooks in the live app, you might want to modify this. In my case, I still have one. This is version test. I need to modify that. So once you deploy the app, then you're probably not going to have this version test. It will just look something like this, and it will correspond to the application that you have. So just to make sure, in both of these cases, I have certain link associated that I can say detect, and I can get this link from here. And I would suggest for you to maybe follow one of the tutorials available on YouTube on how to set up Stripe if you're not able to understand. In our case, all of this is set up for you, so you don't necessarily have to do any of the setup. Pretty much, you just need to create two of these webhooks and then make sure that the test and live version correspond with the test and live version of the application link. Now, from a usability perspective, I would suggest for you to play around and see what features you'd like for users to have. Maybe you don't want them to have this deleting option available for knowledge base. Maybe you want to add some additional things here or restrict a few things, maybe change the available credits for them. So that is completely up to you how you'd like for your application to look like. Also, if you were to go in the app and look at all of the hideable elements, there are a few options. Those are kept hidden. So my suggestion would be to either keep them hidden or make that available for users. The way that this app is set up is that you'll notice that there are some elements which are tagged as page. So these are going to be the pages in the app. If you were to go to any of these pages, you can make changes. So chatbot is one section, knowledge base is other, and summarizer is the third one, which has the major functionality. And within chatbot, you'll see there's an option to view chatbots. This shows the repeating group of the chatbots. And within that, you can look at what are the options available for that particular repeating group. Now in here, there's also an option to show visibility. This is currently hidden in the general setting, but then you can imagine something could be public or private. So in private, a user can see their own chats, and if it's public, then you can have a different section at the bottom that shows all publicly shared chatbots across your application. Now, there's also an option, if you might have noticed in the chatbot, that you can embed chatbots. So this is something users can take this script and add it to their website, and it will show a pop-up at the bottom, which can communicate directly with the chatbot that they have created here. And this has taken the dynamic information of namespace and session from Zep. Those two dynamic information will help them take this chatbot and embed on their website. So this is something you can make it as a premium feature. So you can basically go to the chatbot section. So there is this, which is the view chatbot. There is the chat page, which will show the actual chatbot. And in here, you can go to any particular element. And in here, I said, okay, the condition is that if they're on the entry plan, then this is not an available option for them to embed. So you can change any of the features and say that some of the plans have that and some don't have that particular option. So that is about the pages, how pages are configured. There are a few pop-ups over here that you can also look at for deleting chatbots, adding knowledge base documents. And then one last thing I'd like to mention is that in the workflow, when the delete option is clicked, those are these three elements here. Then what I've done in this particular case is I am deleting all of the messages associated with that chatbot. Now it's up to you if you'd like to delete the messages or not. Essentially, there could be an option. Instead of just showing deleted, it also shows an option to have the chat available to view. So that is something up to you. In this particular case, I've deleted all of the messages, deleting the file that was associated with that chatbot. So it's not available in our server. It's not available on the vector database. And it also changes the chatbot. It deletes all of the messages. So basically removing all information about that particular chatbot except the name of the chatbot. So there we go, folks. If you'd like to deploy the website shown here, chat with document together with Flowise backend APIs, this was the setup. And then for the plans shown on Stripe, we went through how to configure that. And then also we have seen how the pricing and landing page looks like. Now, in terms of API setup, we talked about Flowise, that we will be adding the upserting of document, and then Cohere is for the summary and generation of summary, and also unstructured is for the same purpose. And then one last thing is in this template, we're using Pinecone. So we will also add the API key for Pinecone. And this is something that will be available from your Pinecone account. This helps with deleting of any of the documents. So you will have to make sure that your API key is added here. And in addition to that, you'll have to add this URL that is available from your Pinecone vector store as well. And just to show you where it is in my Pinecone account, I see that right underneath the index that I've created, there is this URL that I will copy, and the first portion of that is where I will paste it, and you might want to leave this here so that the delete functionality works. And that covers the different API connections that we have added in here. And with that, you can deploy a complete chat with document website and start making money as a SaaS application.